video. Welcome. Hello. Hello, my YouTube friends. What's going on? Does it really matter if I don't have audio speakers and equipment behind me when I'm doing a talk about audio equipment? Does it really matter that I'm not in a listening room or in a home theater or anything like that? Does it really make a difference if the discussion and the topics that we have on the video are valid or important or informative? I wish I didn't have this Michael Bay type of shifty light behind me, but I do. So anyways, I'm not always at home. I walk home from work. I have a 2 a.m. finish. I have to walk this way, and doing a loud spoken video while I'm at home might disturb my neighbors. So this is the option I have for my channel. Please forgive anything that I have to say at this point in the adventure. Everything that we do in life is a matter of journey. None of us are born with the ability to walk, and none of us learned how to walk without falling on our face. That's just the way progress works. This isn't a fail, this is an attempt. So in today's video, within the minute and 20 that I've wasted already, I want to talk about comparisons. I want to talk about audio comparisons, the gear that we frantically look online for comparisons, for notes, for data, for measurements, for opinions. Some channels are all opinions. Some channels are a little bit measurement, some and a little bit opinion. A lot of channels are just subjective opinion. Some and even fewer channels are very heavy into measurements. Now I know 3 of them off the top of my head I'm going to name. Audio Science Review, Aaron's Audio Corner, and Audioholics all use very accurate measurement tools for both audio and electronics. Aaron has just included a new device to measure amplification, which is awesome. Another notable comparison person is Danny Ritchie at GR Research, and Ron at New Record Day also does some pretty good comparisons. He has a brand new specific listening room for his purposes. All of these people do their best to compare devices, speakers, sound, equipment. A lot of it can be subjective, which is okay and valid if you follow that person long enough and they seem to reflect the same likes or taste that you do. That's one of the number one things I'm going to say to my friends that are watching this one. If you are into comparisons and you want a valid bit of feedback from someone, find a reviewer that seems to have the same reflection and the same opinion of things that you have heard, and their opinion matches your opinion. Then you can trust their subjective opinion to be somewhat like yours. It's all like a chef. If you go to a 5-star restaurant, they are gaining 5 stars because they have been reviewed and some people really appreciate what they make. You might go and not like their menu because your tastes are different from whoever reviewed the restaurant. Just because it's 5-star doesn't mean it's going to be awesome. Chances are it is, but that doesn't mean it's best for you as a person. So the number one thing, aside from subjective opinions, is the measurements. Now I know that many people say our ears are not microphones, and I know that measurements are not everything. I trust a lot of measurements because I can interpret them well. I've studied it long enough. I understand what the measurements are supposed to say, but not a lot of people like that perspective. So measurements are one thing. They can fill in a lot of gaps where a lot of subjectivity is either this person's taste, that person's taste. It's more spread out. Measurements are more exact, but it doesn't tell you what they sound like. Everybody's mind and ears are different. So they're both important, but it's always about finding the best match for us as a person. So let's go back to comparisons. My buddy Jay's Iyagi, or Iyagi is Journey, I believe. Anyways, Jay just put up a really nice review of the Boris & Acoustics X2 towers. And as a lot of my friends know, I'm a really big fan of what Boris & Acoustics has been doing. I like what Audio Group Denmark has brought to the table with their access line. Access, like giving access, but it's spelled AXXESS, is a budget-oriented version of their higher line speakers. So it's all trickle-down technology into a different category. So Jay put out a good video. I appreciate what he does, and we talk often. And some of the early comments that I read were about, hey, can you compare it to Magico? Can you compare it to this? Can you compare it to that? And the immediate answer that I'm going to say, without even asking Jay, is no, he can't. Because what makes anybody think that Jay has, 30 speakers laying around just ready to compare them for you? He doesn't. It's not a warehouse. The man lives in an apartment. He doesn't have everything to compare. And I'm also going to say, if you want someone to compare a speaker for you and make it valid enough, it has to be the same room on the same cables with the same amp in the same place, the same listening position on the same day, the same temperature outside with the same amount of coffee in their stomach. That's the scientific method, right? Like, would you be okay with a comparison from like two different stores, like retail stores? Is that good enough for you? It wouldn't be for me, because I know that the store might have a different power grid, different cables, different amp, different everything. That's the whole thing with it. Look at the lights. Just my lens is so dirty. That's the thing with comparisons and audio, is it really is so many different factors. The carpet, the treatments on the wall, what the walls are made of. Was it concrete? Was it drywall? You know what? There are so many different things that unless it's a comparison in the same room at the same time, roughly from the same position, all of that stuff, it's not scientifically valid. And then you're going back to, well, it's someone's subjective opinion plus all these other things that are off. So I know that we all want a comparison. I know that we're looking for information that is going to help us make a decision before we spend a lot of money. Is it worth the upgrade? Is it worth changing? How do they compare to what I know? All that kind of stuff. We love this hobby. I understand. But there are some certain factors that people in comment sections need to compromise on. That's what I got to say. Like, yes, we want the comparison, but you have to realize that more than half of the YouTube guys have families. They have houses. They have bills. They don't have enough space to have all of these speakers to compare. And brands are not just handing them over. You can't just call up Magico and be like, hey, can you send a whatever down to the apartment? I need to answer this question for someone in the comment section. It doesn't work like that. Believe me, I would love to answer all your questions too. But this stuff, we're talking about really expensive stuff. I mean, unless we got together on YouTube as like 50 different reviewers and had some sort of like similar setup with 50 different channels, and then you spread out the amount of new stuff like PSB, SVS, Emotiva, like all of these different kind of budget brands, Polk Audio, you know what I mean? Like you name it, the Sonys that came out, ELAC, and just spread out the comparisons, then maybe we could get an idea of what everything compares like. But you would need to have measurements. Every setup would be the same, like a laboratory, and there's only very few magazines that actually have that stuff. Soundstage is one of them, that they use a laboratory. They test every speaker the same way in an anechoic chamber. Audioholics, Audio Science Review, Aaron's Audio Corner. All of these sites have a lot of measurements, but it's not quite the same, So you need to check your resources. asking any random person, any new model that's out there, like, hey, have you compared with this? Have you compared with that? The short answer is no, and it's very difficult for YouTubers to do that. So maybe in their defense, but also in my own defense, because I don't have a lot of stuff. Look, I just walked home from work. I have no audio behind me. But anyways, I beg your consideration, and I thank you for your attention in this video. Please let me know what you think of the topic in the comments, and we'll see you in another video sometime soon. Bye, guys.